If you find yourself spending significantly more on chicken feed than you are actually earning from the eggs your flock produces, then the next 12 minutes might truly be the most critical investment of your time this entire year. Since the year 2020, the cost of poultry feed has effectively tripled, creating a massive financial burden for independent producers. For the vast majority of backyard farmers and smallholders, a staggering 70% of every single dollar spent on their birds goes directly into that heavy paper bag of commercial feed. There is a massive disconnect happening. Somewhere in the vast distance between your hard-earned wallet and the beaks of your hungry chickens, someone else is becoming incredibly wealthy at your expense. However, there exists a specific plant, a single, remarkable species that possesses the ability to double its own biomass every 72 hours. This plant contains more usable protein per square meter than soybeans, and most importantly, it costs you absolutely nothing to cultivate on your own land. This isn't some fringe theory. It has been rigorously studied by agricultural scientists across India, China, Vietnam, and the Philippines for more than 4 decades. It is peer-reviewed, it is published in major journals, and it is scientifically proven. So you have to ask yourself, why has your local feed merchant never mentioned its existence to you? There are two very specific reasons for this silence, and I am going to reveal both of them to you today. By the time you reach the end of this video, you will possess the exact knowledge of what this plant is, the precise methods for growing it, how to harvest it efficiently, and how to integrate it into your flock's diet so that you never have to spend another dollar on commercial feed again. Let us take a moment to analyze what you are actually paying for when you buy that $40 bag of layer feed. You aren't just purchasing a mix of maize and soya. In reality, you are paying for the complexities of global supply chains, the rising costs of diesel fuel, the commissions of various middlemen, corporate profit margins, expensive packaging, and massive marketing budgets. Every single time the price of diesel increases, or wheat futures shift on the stock market, or a drought impacts the American Midwest, the price of that bag climbs even higher. Consider the timeline. Back in 2019, a standard 50-pound bag of high-quality layer feed would cost you somewhere between $15 and $18. Today, that exact same bag will cost you anywhere from $35 to $50, depending on your specific geographic location. This isn't merely a case of standard inflation, this is economic extraction. For small-scale farmers, backyard smallholders, or anyone simply trying to raise their own food supply, this trajectory is becoming completely unsustainable. If you manage a flock of just 20 chickens, you are likely consuming about 100 pounds of feed every month. At current market prices, that translates to a monthly expense of $70 to $100. Over the course of a full year, you are looking at a total cost of $840 to $200 just to keep your birds fed. If you are selling your eggs at $6 per dozen, you would need to sell between 140 and 200 dozen eggs just to reach the break-even point on your feed costs alone. The mathematics of modern smallholding simply don't work anymore under this model. This leads us to a pivotal question. What if you could grow your own feed? Not just as a minor supplement, but as a complete replacement. What if you could achieve this in a space smaller than a child's paddling pool, using no soil, no expensive fertilizers, and no toxic pesticides while producing more protein per harvest than anything you could possibly buy at a shop? That plant does exist. It is called azala. If you have never heard of it before, you are certainly not alone. Azala is a tiny floating aquatic fern that grows with such incredible speed that it can double its total biomass every 2 to 3 days when provided with the right environmental conditions. It has been utilized as a primary animal feed and a potent green fertilizer throughout Asia for over 1,000 years. Yet in the Western world, it remains almost completely unknown to the general public. What makes azala truly remarkable is its nutritional profile. On a dry weight basis, azala contains between 25% and 35% crude protein. To put that into perspective, standard commercial layer feed typically only contains about 16% to 18% protein. Even soybean meal, which is considered the gold standard for plant-based protein, hovers around 44%, but it requires industrial-scale farming, synthetic fertilizers, and massive amounts of land to produce. Azolla requires none of those things. It grows in still or slow-moving fresh water and needs no soil whatsoever. It actually fixes nitrogen directly from the atmosphere through a symbiotic relationship with a specific cyanobacterium that lives inside its leaves. Essentially, the plant fertilizes itself. The productivity of this plant is staggering. It can double in mass every 3 to 5 days depending on the available temperature and sunlight. A single square meter of water surface area can produce between 10 and 15 kilograms of fresh biomass every month. That is roughly 22 to 33 pounds of feed from just 1 square meter of space. Beyond just the protein content, Azolla is packed with essential amino acids, beta-carotene, calcium, phosphorus, iron, and a suite of vitamins including A, B12, and K. Chickens that are fed fresh Azolla demonstrate marked improvements in egg production, significantly better yolk color, a stronger immune response, and much healthier feather quality. This is not just theoretical speculation, it is well-documented science. In 1987, researchers at the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University in India conducted extensive feeding trials with broiler chickens. They replaced up to 25% of the conventional feed ration with fresh Azolla. The results showed no difference in growth rates, but the feed costs were significantly lower. This study was subsequently published in the Indian Journal of Poultry Science. In Vietnam, Azolla has been a staple for decades, used as the primary feed for ducks and pigs, particularly in the Mekong Delta region. The Vietnamese government even actively promoted Azolla cultivation in the 1990s as a core component of their rural development programs. Farmers there grow it in small ponds alongside their rice paddies and harvest it daily to sustain their livestock. Further evidence comes from a 2009 study conducted at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, which tested Azolla as a feed replacement specifically for laying hens. The birds that were fed a diet containing 10% to 15% Azolla showed no reduction in egg production and actually produced yolks that were visibly darker and richer due to the high carotenoid content of the plant. The study concluded that Azolla could successfully replace up to 20% of commercial feed without any loss in bird performance. In China, the cultivation of Azolla stretches back over a millennium, primarily used as a green manure for rice fields, but also as a vital supplemental feed for livestock. The Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences published multiple papers throughout the 1980s and 90s documenting its nutritional viability. This is not an experimental new discovery. This is generational knowledge that has sustained civilizations. So if this plant is so effective, so well documented, and so incredibly easy to grow, why isn't it everywhere? Why has your local feed merchant never heard of it? There are two primary reasons, and neither of them serves your interests. The first reason is that there is simply no profit in it for corporations. Azolla cannot be patented. It cannot be branded, bagged, shipped, stored on a shelf for months, or marked up by 200%. It grows itself, spreads itself, and costs nothing. For the commercial feed industry, which is worth over $40 billion annually in the United States alone, Azolla represents a direct threat to their bottom line, not a product they can sell. If every backyard chicken keeper grew their own Azolla, entire corporate revenue streams would vanish overnight. The second reason is that Azolla requires a fundamental shift in your mindset. Modern agriculture is built entirely on the concept of buying inputs, buying seeds, buying fertilizer, buying feed, and buying pesticides. The entire system is designed to train you to be dependent on external suppliers. Self-sufficiency does not fit into that economic model. Growing your own feed sounds like a radical idea only because we have been conditioned to believe that food production is something that other people or big companies do. But it isn't. It is something you can do right now in your own back garden. Here is exactly how you grow it. You need a container that can hold water. This can be a simple plastic paddling pool, a livestock trough, an old bathtub, or even a purpose-built pond. The container should be at least 6 inches deep and placed in a location that receives partial to full sunlight. Azolla thrives in temperatures between 68 or 30 and 86 degrees, though it can tolerate a wider range of conditions. Fill your chosen container with fresh water, and if you are using municipal tap water, let it sit for at least 24 hours to allow any chlorine to evaporate. Azolla grows best in still water with a pH level between 4.5 and 7.5. You generally don't need to adjust the pH unless your water is extremely alkaline. Next, you will need a starter culture. You can easily order Azolla online from aquatic plant suppliers, aquarium hobbyist groups, or permaculture networks. A small handful is all you need to get started. Simply drop it into your water, and within days, it will begin to spread across the entire surface. Under ideal conditions, it will double its coverage every 3 to 5 days. While Azolla doesn't need traditional fertilizer, it does require some trace nutrients. You can add a small amount of compost tea, highly diluted urine, or even a single tablespoon of wood ash per week to provide necessary phosphorus and potassium. If you notice the water turning yellow or the Azolla stops growing, it is usually a sign of a nitrogen or phosphorus deficiency, which a little organic input will quickly solve. To harvest, simply scoop out handfuls with a fine mesh net or even your bare hands. Always leave at least 25% of the surface covered so the colony can regrow. Rinse the harvested plants lightly to remove any debris. You can feed it to your chickens fresh, or you can dry it in the sun for long-term storage. Fresh Azolla is about 90% water, so the drying process concentrates the nutrients. For your chickens, start by mixing small amounts into their regular feed, roughly 10% to 15% by weight. Watch how they respond. Most birds absolutely love it once they become accustomed to the new texture. Over time, you can increase this ratio. Some farmers have successfully gone as high as a 30% to 40% replacement rate with no issues. If you choose to dry it, spread it thinly on a mesh screen or a tarpaulin in direct sunlight. It will usually dry in 1 to 2 days. Once dry, it crumbles easily and can be stored in an airtight container for months while retaining most of its protein content. Let's look at the final maths. A single 1 square meter pond can produce 10 to 15 kilograms of fresh Azolla per month, which is about 22 to 33 pounds. At 90% moisture, that translates to 2 to 3 pounds of dry matter. If you are replacing even 20% of your feed, that represents significant savings. If you scale this up to 3 or 4 small ponds, you could potentially eliminate your commercial feed bill entirely. One backyard farmer in North Carolina reported cutting his monthly feed costs from $90 down to under $20, just by supplementing with Azolla grown in 3 plastic tubs. Another farmer in Oregon replaced 50% of her layer feed using a single 6-foot water trough. These are not outliers. These results are completely replicable. This isn't just about saving a few dollars, it's about taking back control. It's about recognizing that the systems we've been taught to depend on are not the only options available to us. For 1,000 years, farmers have grown their own feed using nothing but sunlight, water, and a plant that regenerates itself. You have the power to do the same. If you found value in this information, consider subscribing to our channel. We dig up forgotten methods like this every single week. Techniques that actually work, that cost nothing, and that no one is trying to sell you. Build just one Azolla pond this month, then come back and tell us how it went. Drop a comment below and let's build a community of people who are actually taking action. The truth is, the knowledge that sets you free isn't hidden because it's a secret. It's hidden because it isn't profitable for the powers that be. But now you know the truth. Go grow your own. Your chickens will thank you, and your wallet will too. If this story changed the way you look at the resources available in your own back garden, please subscribe and follow our channel. We are dedicated to unearthing the history and the practical knowledge that they have tried so hard to bury. It is time to plant the seeds of the future and reclaim our independence. Our next treasure trove of forgotten wisdom will be open very soon. Don't miss it. Hit that like button and join us.